Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone, especially for timekeeper and the both participants, both of from the affirmation team and opposition team. So this morning we will have a debate session. So before that, I will explain about the rules in this morning. So rules number one, during the debate session, participants are not allowed to turn on the microphone, except when requested by the chairperson and required to turn on the camera. Number two, it is not allowed to convey arguments that have elements of sara and swear words to the opponents of the debate. Rules number three, each speaker is given 3 minutes to present their arguments. Rules number 4. Interruptions are carried out by activating the raise hand features and are allowed to speak for 15 seconds if the interrupt speaker accepts their interrupt. So the last but not least, for rules number 5, if there is a violation of these rules, then the team is considered to disqualification. All right, that's the rules of our debate session today. Now, the motion that will be present in this debate session is about this house believes that offline school during the COVID-19 pandemic can be carried out. So we already have affirmative team. There are Aulia Nirmala and Dia Putri and also Anis Nurul Afifah. So also with the opposition team, we have Muhammad Raihan Zazuli, Sultan Akmal Hibrizi, and Salsabila Naswa. To start this debate session, I will invite speaker firstly from the affirmation team to present their argument. Times begin when you speak.
Thank you to the chairman for giving me time to speak. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Aulia Agustina, as speaker for one of the affirmative team. We are agree with the topic that offline school during this pandemic must still be implemented because distance learning has been carried out so far considered ineffective and causes various negative impact on the world of Indonesian education. Even the Minister of Education, Nadiem Makarim, who said that during the pandemic, school children in Indonesia lost 1 year of learning or is called learning loss. If distance learning continues, there will be the biggest potential learning loss in Indonesian history. The psychological impact of the children is also affected during the implementation of distance learning. The existence of distance learning due to COVID-19, if it occurs in a long period of time, will disrupt the psychological condition of students such as anxiety, fear, exercise, worry, and have a psychosomatic impact that will arise when someone feels stressed and exercise. Anxiety can even lead to depression. In the online teaching and learning process, some children said that they had difficulty understanding lessons independently because there was no assistance from the teacher. Couldn't understand what that the teacher was giving, but were staying at home, while about music lesson, with hoping to meet friend and teacher. In addition, there are also children who experience violence by their parents, both physical or verbal violence, such being a pinch, ridiculed, scolded, or compared to other children. This can cause the child to become stressed and anxious. Therefore, like it or not, learning in offline school must be carried out immediately to minimize other negative impact. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for speaker one on team affirmative. So for tomorrow, it is welcome for speaker one from the opposition team to present their arguments.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you to the chairman for giving me the opportunity to make my argument. My name is Muhammad Raihan Zazuli as speaker one of the counter team. I represent my friend from the culture team stating that we disagree on the motion set, which is face-to-face schooling in the time of the pandemic. Learning done face-to-face when the pandemic is currently at risk to the emergence of a new cluster of COVID-19 spread is proven by some cases. Among them, quoted from Compass.com, were the case of 11 teachers and one student at one of the private school in Salatiga who confirmed positive COVID-19 after doing face-to-face learning. In addition, hundreds of students at Abdurrahman Islamic School, Pekanbaru, tested positive for COVID-19 and 44 people in Gunung Kidul were confirmed as a result of face-to-face learning. These cases are due to the same thing, namely negligence in implementing health protocols. This fact proves that vaccination and health protocols are not fully effective at preventing COVID-19 transmission. The things to note before doing face-to-face learning is the still high rate of COVID-19 spread, so that this condition can cause a greater risk of spreading the virus. Local governments should encourage other components of education, namely the community and the parents, to provide solutions so that the effectiveness of online learning can increase and be done optimally. Solving problems in the field of education in the pandemic period must be faced wisely and not in a hurry, so that the resulting education can reduce the risk to the creation of a new cluster of COVID-19 spread. There are enough arguments that I can say. I'm sorry if there's shortage. Thank you. I return it to Honorable Chairman. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you for Muhammad Rehan Julie. So furthermore, we move to speaker two from the affirmation team to present their arguments.
Thanks to the chairperson. Saying that technological facilities in Indonesia are not evenly distributed, it will become a barrier for students and teachers. Even though the education sector, ICDP consultant Toto Amin Sufijanto said the use of technology called out 3D bidon in remote areas such as Kerong and Merauke. But still not all teachers can make full use of technology. So there are also students who cannot use technology because the teachers can either. Many of the students also do not have a comfortable study space in their home environment. There are activities in the home environment that cause distractions in learning. These distractions are very diverse, starting from voice distractions, visual distraction, and etc. So these distractions and causing students cannot focus on studying. These conditions interupsi boleh
Okay.
share.
If you'll take it for Anissa Pipa, we'll take it or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. It's allowed to deliver the 15 seconds for interruption. Starting while you are speaking.
Okay, thank you. Is there any data that support this statement? Because I think your statement sounds like a subjective and generalizing statement. Thank you.
This condition is certainly the responsibility of parents. When students offline school, the room environment has been arranged in such a way as to support the learning process so that it runs smoothly, different from the teaching and learning process at home. Many students don't have the same home conditions to support the learning process. This is the reason students feel uncomfortable when they have to online school rather than offline school. 38% of students as respondents said the lack of guidance from teachers was the main obstacle, while 35% mentioned poor internet access. The results of the UNICEF survey on May 2020 and June 2020 received more than 400 responses from students. The Minister of Education and Culture, Research and Technology has also appreciated limited offline school since early 2021 year. They also only allow limited offline school with certain conditions, such as the lockdown. If there are areas that are at level 1 and 2, it will be allowed to do limited offline school. In addition to the 3M health program requirement, vaccinations have also become the main requirement to carry out offline activities, not only for permanent students, but also for workers from out. According to the Ministry of Health, these vaccinations has benefits to stimulate immunity, reduce the risk of transmissions, reduce the severe impact the virus, and can achieve herd immunity. The effectiveness of vaccine in preventing COVID-19 infections in January to March is 84%, or in other words, only 2 of 10 health workers who have could slow down the risk of COVID-19 infections. Health workers who are completely vaccinated have a relatively longer resistance to not being infected with COVID-19 than health workers who have not been vaccinated.
Okay, thank you for Anies Afifa from the affirmation team who has to start the argument. Now, for speaker two in the opposition team to present your arguments.
Okay, thank you, the chairperson and friend from the pro team. By respect, I, the second speakers of the counter team, will emphasize that this house are not believed with the motion submitted, namely face-to-face schools during the pandemic COVID-19 situation. Before presenting the argument, I will first refute the arguments presented by second speakers of pro team to us. The first is regarding the ownership of technology facilities which are still considered uneven by the second speakers of pro teams, which is an invalid statement. This is evidenced by the data from the Ministry of Communication and Information. It was said that recorded that as of March 7, 2021, internet users in Indonesia reached 89% of the total population, or around 167 million people. The data certainly prove concretely that the ownership of online learning supporting technology is enough to dominate the population. The governments, as you know, always try to supporting the running of online learning optimally. One of them is the distribution of free internet quotas for students in Indonesia. The second is about teachers' lack of understandings of the use of technology for learning. In fact, the pandemic moment is the right moment for teachers to disrupt or use technology to support teaching and learning activities.
Sorry, for Sultan Ahmad Ibrizi. There was interruption from speaker from affirmation team. You will take it or not?
Yes, I will take it.
So for Dia, it's allowed to deliver the 15-second interruption starting while you are speaking.
Okay, thank you. It was mentioned there was internet quotas assistance from the government, but the problem is the government's quota is limited access. Cannot access to the other social media platforms such as Instagram and others. While for the task given by the teacher, many have to be uploaded on Instagram, YouTube, or others. How did the opposition team respond to this?
Okay, this policy is of course to avoid misusing of quota distribution. And again, instead of uploading tasks via Instagram, if the context was to upload tasks from for the social media, teachers can provide other more alternative, which is through YouTube, that you can do it with the free quota internet from the government. Okay, About the second is about teachers' lack of understanding of the use technology for learning. In fact, the pandemic moment is the right moment for teachers to disrupt or use technology to support teaching and learning activities. For this reason, collaboration between young teachers and teachers who are not young is needed so that innovation in learning using technology can be carried out by all teachers in schools. And the third, from the statement of the second speakers of pro teams, that was said that vaccination only slowed the rate of infection and still left the possibility or risk of transmitting COVID-19. Spokesperson for the COVID-19 vaccination, Dr. Siti Nadia Tarmizi, said that the COVID-19 vaccination was not to prevent the transmission of COVID-19, but to prevent the impact of contracting the COVID-19 virus. The health protocol, as conveyed by the first speakers of the counter team, has been proven to be ineffective in preventing the transmission of the COVID-19 virus and can be applied by students during face-to-face learning. From this argument, it can be proven that offline schools during the COVID-19 pandemic situation cannot be implemented. Thus, online learning should not be feared by government, society, and parents, but use the moment as an opportunity for the Indonesian people to disrupt education and accelerate the pace of technological literacy, as well as increase parental awareness of its important role in supporting children's education, so that the optimization of the function of the three educational centers can be done during this online learning period. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your argument, Sultan Ahmad Hibrisi. Let's we move to our last speaker, as always, speaker three from the uh, affirmation team to present their arguments.
My name is Dia Putri as speaker 3 from affirmative team. Okay, I will deliver the final statement from the affirmative team. We, the affirmative team, support online school during the pandemic, which are carried out by implementing health protocols and government regulation to prevent the risk of spreading the virus. Distance learning that has been carried out so far is considered to be less effective and has various negative impact on the world of Indonesian education. Even by the education minister, Nadiem Makarim, who said that during the pandemic, school children in Indonesia had lost 1 year of learning or what was known as learning loss. Although there are still some who agree that online learning is more effective during the pandemic. However, the delivery of material from the teacher may not be well received by students. The psychological impact of children is also affected during the implementation of this PJJ, such as the number of children who are stressed because of the pressure of many tests from the teacher and also the condition at home that do not support the teaching and learning process. Then not a few students are also constrained by internet costs that need to be spent to take online lesson via Zoom and others. If there are teachers, students, or guardians who are sick, we stop them to go to school. If there is a COVID cluster at school, PTM activities are stopped and can be resumed when the isolation of our healing period is over. So here and my team strongly agree if face-to-face learning is carried out again. Even the Minister of Education, Nadiem Makarim, saw firsthand the activities of school and campus in Solo that help BTM. He said, we really support the local governments which are currently at level 1 until 3 encouraging limited face-to-face school and vaccinating students with the implementation or strict health protocols. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for your statement or arguments, Dia Putri. So let's we move to speaker three from the opposition team to present your arguments.
Okay, I as the speaker of the Chikaner team said that we reject the reopening of school and the resumption of face-to-face learning. In the current state of an increasing alarming pandemic in Indonesia, it is better for this government plan to be put first. We are worried that if the government still insists on opening school and holding face-to-face learning, there will be many new cases of COVID-19. Indeed, PJJ cannot be fully implemented through Indonesia, but we think that the health and safety of the Indonesian people is far more important than forcing ourselves to reopen school. First, online learning provides opportunities for students to apply self-study. The application of self-study makes students more independent, and of course, this is very in line with the program for the Minister of Education and Culture who wants to implement the independent learning program. Second, with many trusted learning sites, of course, students don't need to worry because they can get a lot of material with accurate reference on the site. In fact, not only paid ones, many online learning sites provide free access. So, students can access all material without thinking about the cost problem. With this, the advantage in can be said that online learning is efficient enough to be applied to students, and of course, integrate train students independent in applying appropriate learning methods. Thank you.
Thank you, Salsabilan as well from opposition team. Well, yeah, thank you with the completion of the presentation of your arguments from the three speakers with the affirmation teams and also with the opposition teams. With this debate session was end. Let's we give applause to our participants. With this, I conclude the debate session. Thank you for the participation of the participant as well as the timekeeper also, and the enthusiasm of the audience in today's debate session. So I will end this debate session. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.